Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Seattle Overload podcast, where we're going to talk about the latest Seahawks game, if you can call it that. I say game in bunny ears. That was a shambles. But before we talk about the shambles, and still a victory, they all count. Griff, the preamble. Did you have a nice Christmas?
Yeah, it was festive and it was a Christmas miracle. Holiday spirit was
Brilliant.
living through me. How about you, Maddie?
Yeah, it's fine. We actually got a super thanks from Steve Ferrone. Not the first time, but thank you, Steve, for that. They commented that, so that's much appreciated. Very kind. I don't know if
Uh
we have other preamble topics that we want to deal with here.
yeah, we do. Matty
Oh,
F Matty F Brown shout out on the Thursday Night Football
oh.
Prime Vision broadcast.
Well, I just hate that you weren't. We are
No,
separate entities, but
no. It was a Matty F Brown moment of the Matty F Brown show.
Dan asked, "Have
Seahawks
you been?"
Insider.
Yeah, uh that was new.
That was great.
Fine. I'll take it, Someone says
Sam
nice things
Sam
about you.
Sam Schwartzstein's a great guy. Puts in the
Right.
work. That
And
was a good
Keegan
moment.
as well.
And
Keegan I
Keegan,
don't
of
think
course.
was on tonight, but yeah. Keegan and Sam do
Keegan,
great work in Next Gen Stats. Like I think Griff and I shared this previously, but before was it the 49ers Thursday night football game, we got to go on with the Thursday night football Next Gen Stats guys and have like a production meeting with them and sort of share our thoughts on the Seahawks and a few other things. But for us, that was obviously amazing because any excuse to talk about the Seahawks and share our passion. But also, it was a look into their process and like the level of detail, the stats they have available, like how intelligent those guys are, and much better than we are articulating football. Well,
mhm.
better than myself. Griff's obviously good at it, but yeah, they're also top guys. So that's thanks to you, the listener, and our
You the
audience
fan.
that we have the platform to do such things. And yeah, there's no need for them to shout me out, but it was a 6-3 game, and the Seahawks pass rush was the one thing. And yeah, there we go. Right then, are we gonna actually talk about this game?
Yeah, I think we have to. I think we're honor bound.
God damn it! Like contractually, even though no one sponsored the pod, we need to change the
So,
banner still. But if you want to sponsor the pod,
yeah, hey, Nike,
hey,
Coca-Cola, if you're listening.
Nike, yeah, get
Um,
me some Seattle Overload Air Max.
Apple, Apple, if you're out there, you can get a Seattle Overload themed iPhone. If you're-
Right.
we're socially contract obligated, socially social contractually obligated. There we go.
Nailed it.
Hit it, Maddie.
Welcome to the Seattle Overload podcast, where your Seattle Seahawks have won their Week 17 game. How is it Week 17 already? 6-3 at the Chicago Bears. Yes, 6-3. Not a typo, but still a win. It moves the Seahawks to 9-7 on the season. They had to win this game to keep their slim playoff hopes alive. They're still really kind of needing the Arizona Cardinals to do the double, do the sweep on the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday. But this was a start, and on one side of the ball, the defense played fantastic football. But ultimately, what made this such a slop fest was Chicago's offense looking fairly putrid, and then the Seahawks' offense was. I don't actually have words to describe a lot of this game. I mean, it did rain a lot, but it was bad before the rain. Whatever metric you want to look at, just the basic eye test Griff, from an offense perspective, I know it was a short week. They had to travel over Christmas. I think defense had an advantage weather-wise and preparation-wise, but this was appalling.
Yeah, we still have to remember the Bears defense, even though they've been floundering recently, they're still a talented group, especially their front. I mean, they have defensive backs. So, but I really think it was a lot of what you said. Short week, the weather. I think they probably game planned for a bad weather game. I mean, there was so much running, right? A lot of screens, a lot of swing passes. We saw that early in the game as well. So it kind of seemed like they were scheming with the weather in mind, and then ended up hitting anyway. So, I mean, I take all that combined with the short week, as you said. I just kind of, I mean, they could. I mean, look, they scored. What did they score? 24 last week against the Vikings, which was a really good defense. It just wasn't raining, so and that was an outdoor game. They play in a dome next week against the Rams, right? So I think they'll air it out more. Gino's also hurt too. That probably affected a little bit the play calling and game planning. But yeah, it wasn't a great game. Still, I think Grubb. I don't. It makes sense to me that he ran a lot, but I would have varied the sequencing a little bit. I think there was a little too much run, pass. I would have done more like, run, pass, run, to try to get third and shorts. If it was 3rd and 4, they know you're throwing you're throwing it. And those were even conditions with the weather and the protection. I mean, it needed to be 3rd and 2, so I would have saved their quick game for second downs, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the penalty yardage. They only 3 penalties of 25 yards on the Seahawks. One of those might be defensive. Yeah, they had a 12 men on the field penalty, didn't they? Anyway, it felt like Grubb, not for the first time, started the game quite different in that there was some run stuff. It was clear that running the ball more had been like, hey, rather than saying it, let's actually do it. That was a thing. There was some like run pass option baked in as well. There was a blend of under center and gun. They did a few things, and they ended up on an 11-play field goal drive that stalled out on a almost intercepted Geno pass. We'll talk about Geno Smith's performance, but that looked good. And then I tweeted, hey, that was a promising start. It felt fairly balanced. I want to be seeing wrinkles off that type of stuff. But we've been here before where we haven't had those wrinkles, or Grubb has reverted to type and kind of got back into just shotgun drop back passing and playing as though they're down by like 3 scores in a very close game and that type of stuff, and overexposing his quarterback and whatnot. I actually felt like it was more, and you can point this at coaching too, it was more like negative plays from the players. So like the next drive, Geno sacked on a 1st and 10 play action where he trips up over Charbonnet, I think is what happened. 2nd and 18, that's pretty tough to do things in. The next drive, well, I can't remember what happened there, but there was little things like that. There was like a play where I felt on a 3rd down, or it was 2nd and 8, where Geno took a sack at Chicago's 41. I felt, and I guess let's transition into Geno, Griff. I felt Geno was more gun shy, even before the rain. So whether that was influenced by the first almost pick he threw, where it's quick game, it's empty, it's 3rd and short, 3rd and 3, I think, in the red zone. He tries to look off the middle hook linebacker by staring to the opposite side. And then it's one where you pivot quickly back and throw the over-the-middle stick route from, in this case, Tyler Lockett. And there's like 2 linebackers right there. I don't know how they didn't catch the ball. I guess because, rifled it in there. but it's one that when you're kind of in opening script mode as a quarterback, you are probably more likely to throw that blind and just trust it and not really read it out, so to speak. You're just kind of throwing that almost with the blind faith. It's not to excuse, like, if that's been picked off, it does fall on the quarterback predominantly, of course, because he threw the football, and it was not a good look. And I think after that, the 2nd and 8 sack, where this was a drive where the Seahawks had put together, it ended up being 9 plays and ending in a punt. But, they'd been driving the football. They'd got 3 first downs. They were at the Chicago 41. They threw an RPO to Lockett for 2 yards. And then on the 2nd and 8 at the Chicago 39, Gino takes a sack where they run stick from gun quick game, which has been like an element of like a bucket that they've tried to tap into more rather than like the deep drop back type stuff. And Gino has flat routes open. To his right, the flat routes open, but the rusher's rushing wide around the arc. But I think Gino, his most confident, throws it. And to his left, the running back's wide open. I don't know why he didn't throw it. 2nd and 8. It's not 3rd down. Like, throwing short the sticks there, maybe you get 3rd and 7. Maybe you get more because it's Zach Charbonnet in the flat and he could break a tackle or the defender might not converge in time. But that felt bizarre to me, Griff. And then he turned down a Metcalf like improvised fade route, where the post or the in cut he initially was assigned, he then converted into a fade. But I felt Gino just wasn't. There was those elements which felt uncharacteristic, but I don't know if I'm reading too much into it.
No, I agree with you.
I don't think he's necessarily to blame for a lot of the offensive failings, but those plays were like,
Yeah, the drop pick, the errant throw to JSN, he just wasn't on the money.
Oh yeah, that one was a good one.
Yeah, and then combined with the other elements, like it wasn't a great game for him. It wasn't a great game for it wasn't a great game for the whole offense. I don't think past those 2 like missed throws, I don't think he was like bad. He might have missed some things on some of those 3rd downs, but like I'm not positive on that.
No, 3rd down, the Bears seemed to, other than the ones that they completed, the Bears seemed to completely clamp up their 3rd down stuff. And I guess that brings up a conversation about the most struggles this offense seems to have had is when you described it in our chat as kryptonite for the offense, is when a team plays off coverage and largely cover 3. Like, Grubb has really struggled this season.
There aren't built-in options for that. If you're going to get off cover 3, do something to hold the slot defenders, and you got to work the flat, in my mind. That doesn't really exist in this offense as much. So, yeah, I don't think however the team feels about Gino, I don't think this game changes that. However they felt about Grubb, I don't think this game changes it either. If the internal temperature wasn't, if the internal temperature was already bad, I don't think this changes it. If they were on the fence, I don't think they would judge too much.
Okay, well, what I'd suggest, like, so there was elements. So the Geno stuff's like slightly concerning, and obviously, like, not turning the ball over was like a big emphasis. Like, I think that showed up in his play and those elements I spoke about. I think for me, if there is a final nail in, a metaphorical coffin, like, this has to be it. I mean, a play which sticks out to me, and I'm overreacting to it, but the Pharaoh Brown fumble, like, that's cool. It's an RPO. Pharaoh Brown doesn't want to go down. He's a big tight end catching the ball out in the flat. That's brilliant. But he has like 3 or 4 Bears players mauling him, and Seahawks offensive players it was a trips formation. So I believe Tyler Lockett was in the slot. DK Metcalf is on the outside of thing. Now, Lockett's never going to be the most physical guy. He will block when required, but he's never the most physical dude generally. But they were just standing watching. No one pushed the pile. No lineman ran forward to help Pharaoh Brown. He was up for some time. I don't necessarily think they'd have prevented the fumble being forced, but that kind of lack of effort and drive and just energy on offense, it was very lackluster throughout the game. the only thing that kind of got them close, and it was another instance of players making mistakes rather than maybe the play caller struggling, was DK Metcalf getting into it, getting those penalties, and they put together that end of half field goal drive where I don't know if like the edge to the game kind of got them back in it, because honestly, they're playing against a team in Chicago who has very little to play for. Getting up for this game, traveling over Christmas, being away from families on that short week, as we mentioned, it is, if there's such thing as a trap game for the Seahawks, given their playoff hopes are slim. I don't know if that is the case, but it was a funky game for them where they, especially on offense, they just seemed very, very lackluster.
Mm-hmm.
And to my point, there was the same stuff. Like, I think the almost pick at the start was that case of what you said about the empty formations having very clear tells. Like, that screamed stick, like the situation, the presentation, the receiver alignments, who was on the ball, who's off the ball. That screamed the concept that they ran. So no wonder it was camped on. But I think the added thing for me is I do question, like, how do you, after you've put together a solid showing against Minnesota, but clearly still some like pretty grave concerns with how that game developed, how do you come out and do this against Chicago? Like,
Yeah,
I know Chicago's defense is playing hard, but
I don't
even
know,
like the fumble being run back for a touchdown, right? And I did hear a whistle blown. Geno Smith said in his post-game press conference that he heard a whistle. Like, why does no one why is everyone just standing like watching? They just look cold and
right,
miserable and like
right,
they had not had Christmas with their families.
right. No,
The
you're
defense
right.
didn't look like that.
Um, yeah, the energy wasn't fantastic. I guess if you're trying to
Really?
parse, if you're trying to parse kind of
Right.
subjective things like that.
But how was the
And
play?
yeah, other than that, how
You
was the
know?
play? I really think morale. I mean, I don't think it's a lack of effort or intention, but I don't think morale is great on the offense. For DK to have that frustrating moment, I think that's him letting out a lot more than just
Yeah.
whatever frustration in that play was. Um, yeah, yeah, it's not great. Also Abraham Lucas, I worry about him. He did not have a good game. Again, short week. I don't know to what extent we're supposed to, view this, but like he was losing the edge. So maybe 3 or 4 times he got beat clean. Maybe I need to rewatch. Um, maybe I'm just vibing too much, but they'll have a long, restful 10 days before the Rams game. So
We
we'll see.
even saw Griff on a drive. Grubb ran weak from under center, which we hadn't seen
Yeah,
before. He also ran a cool gun, like tackle pulling play, like to the same side as the running back the pull was going to, which I
yeah,
don't know if you want to call that long trap or like tackle power from the gun, like same side power. I think maybe power. But then shortly after that, called gun play action. It was with the pulling guard, but it was very clear in like the linebackers' minds that it was a similar presentation of run action to actually do the play fake and hit the play action downfield, which they did to Tyler Lockett. So there was kind of what I'd been looking for the past, I don't know, 17 weeks or 16
mhm,
weeks, or 16 games at least, where I was like, oh yeah, that's some layers, that's some layering, and it still felt, I guess, like it ran out. I think when, I don't know, they scored 6 points. I think Geno
yeah.
Smith was trying to be
Ultimately,
optimistic about the run game. I mean, Kenny McIntosh had 7 carries for 46 rushing yards, 6.6 yards per carry average. Charbonnet ran it 15 times for 57 yards, 3.8 yards per carry. I mean, just the fact that the running backs had 22 carries is a marked difference. But I at this point, I think Grubb is probably done.
yeah. Well, I would say with the game plan, like again, he was run heavy because I think because he was trying to get ahead of what the conditions would be. We talk about desiring a balanced offense, but run heavy offense isn't balanced either. It's run heavy.
No, I think. Well, I don't. I don't necessarily agree with the conditions. I think he was bollocked for
Okay.
how the
Well,
last few weeks have been.
the other thing though is so the play action. I think there's only what 4 examples.
Yeah.
I think it was all weak side, but then I think it was all the duo blocking, weak side duo blocking. It wasn't like weak zone. Maybe
No,
one
it
of them.
wasn't. It wasn't the same as that week under center run that I celebrated massively. It was
Yeah, I know. I just don't
completely
get it, man.
different.
Like,
And
why do they even bother?
yeah, the under center play action. I think of the Geno negative play, and then the rest of it was nightmarish.
I mean, you might as well just call a straight drop back from under center if you're not going to sell it. Just let the running back get into his
Which
pass block.
again, right? They did that last game. They did 2 under center dropbacks. Why can you not call 1 or 2 this game? Like, and this isn't to nitpick like the lack of one certain play type. What it is more of a criticism of the overarching approach of Grubb, which something Griff spoke to before. He doesn't call like 1 or 2 of each thing. It's a lot of one thing each time, and that's that. This game is maybe more of a mix, but particularly early. But again, it felt like kind of running out of stuff, and I have to emphasize, I felt the players, the execution of stuff. This game was, I mean, the tape's going to be horrid. I think.
Yeah, I guess that will be one thing I'll be looking for throughout the game is does effort level, effort detail change as the game goes on, in response to them not moving the ball at all. I don't know, man. I don't know.
But we're just going to end up talking in circles about the offense, aren't we? Because ultimately, our main criticisms remain, like in terms of the like structure of all of this and the way it's designed and the way they've like had to develop it throughout the season after their issues. I think the weaknesses of that are really now prominent, and any defense on their day will cause them issues. But particularly one of like the style of Chicago. Yeah, I am concerned really about Geno, to be honest, but
Yeah.
that is so unlike him not to hit, like not to just read out his concept and throw it into the flat on that stick play. It's sticking in my mind. I don't know why he wouldn't read it out and just play like he. Why we love Geno, part of why we love Geno is he honors concepts and he plays quarterback like we, as basic myself, a very unathletic person who watches tape. It makes logical sense. It's how it's like a thing of beauty, like seeing a master at work. For him to turn that down, just that troubles me. But maybe I'm missing something. I'm watching the Prime Vision broadcast. I was like, oh, I don't know about that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, O-line played ish. Geno sacked 3 times. One of them, maybe 2 of them actually, were more weird things.
Well, I think like coverage, play extension, coverage sack.
Yeah. Which I think, I don't know how much it was coverage versus like Grubb spamming 989 or like 3 verts.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. So
cover 3.
we didn't get to talk about the Vikings game. The third down game planning against the Vikings. So I liked Grubb in the first half in particular. But the third downs throughout the entire game, I have no idea.
Yes.
You're just running into a wall. Like the amount of times he called 3 verts on any.
Yeah, they eat that. They eat that
against Minnesota. Like you're not creating any levels in the against the defense. No layers.
Yeah, like where's the stress? Where's the stretching?
I've got nothing wrong. I've got nothing against 3 verts as a play call, but like to do that every time on 3rd and long against them, I don't know. There are just weird things about how Grubb game plans that they're not even criticisms necessarily. It's just kind of weird. Like I haven't really noticed. Like I didn't really notice that with him at UW either.
I guess because it works.
I guess because it worked, but like he really just gets kind of like hung up on certain things. It's like he wants to see all of it, all the possibilities out of it, because he probably, has. I'm sure he has something in mind of like, there's a matchup here, or there's a way.
It's a collection of ideas, right?
Yeah.
Um. Anyway,
I just and their shotgun dropback numbers aren't bad at all. The shotgun play action is bad, and the under center is bad. And that's ultimately what I just can't understand. And the empty is regressed. That's the other aspect, and the quick game regressed. So it probably stands to reason that their intermediate drop, 5-step drop offense would be even better if he used more quick game, and if he mixed it up what he does out of empty more, and if he ran a smidge more out of gun throughout the whole season, it would just be more balanced. He'd probably help himself with what he does well even more. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like it's like his approach to the NFL. He went to a garage. There's all these race cars in the garage, and he chooses the wrong car. He drives it all right, but he chose the wrong car. It's like, for this track, you need this car. So it doesn't really matter to a point how well you drive it. You're in the wrong racetrack, buddy. I don't know, man. It's weird. It'll be very interesting to see how the final game goes.
Yeah. This game was so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah.
There's not much more to say about the offense. It's bemusing. I will be searching for like common themes.
Yeah, well, I guess one thing we could talk about that's exciting is McIntosh. His numbers were good.
And he ran angry when he's got like very limited touches earlier in the season. It's
Yeah.
interesting that I know they love Walker, and Charbonnet has actually played fairly well when he's been like the star guy, but it's odd that he has this juice.
Yeah. I think Oluwatimi blocked really well too. Just he's been blocking well.
Man, don't want to nitpick individual things, but I think the 3rd and 3 run, which I'm fine running in 3rd and 3, but the way they checked into it and then put the back at like a really suspect depth with the tight end, it's like screaming stretch with like the tight end bubble, was so bait. And worse, not only was it bait, but they left the middle linebacker totally unblocked to run into the like details. But one thing I have noticed is like on Twitter, and it's inevitable, right? On Twitter, Blue Sky, and we've been very critical of Grubb as well. But like, it's so easy to be, the coordinator sucks. This is the coordinator's fault. This is the coordinator's fault. And I want to emphasize, and again, this could stem from a dislike or of the coordinator, or the players kind of clocking that he's not there next year or whatnot. But I thought the players, the just overall execution, the lack of juice, was what really popped for me today, along with some concerning execution things that more speak to me of like poor positional coaching. Anyway, they've got a lot to think about when it comes to their offensive staff next year, and like how many guys they retain, because we'll see.
Yep.
Griff, would you be open to firing Ryan Grubb now and giving Jake Peets a 1-game audition in the NFL? Does that achieve anything?
Probably not. Let him. Maybe if the Rams win, then maybe, just to see what Jake has with no stakes at play. That's really, I don't like firing guys in the middle of the season too. Like, if you're gonna keep them this far along in the process, let them finish the season.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough. Right.
It's not like he schemed against the Rams last time anyway, decently. It was one of their
Yeah.
more explosive games of the year.
That's true. All right, Mr. Yorner. Let's talk about the defense. So the defense was fairly sublime. They sacked Caleb Williams 7 times. They intercepted him once to ice the game. Mike McDonald really kind of, after he'd realized that all the Bears had were kind of screen answers to his pressures, he really kind of upped his blitz rate and just kept coming after a rookie quarterback who takes too many sacks and runs backwards and is kind of lost out there and can't really set protections or unpick, the more complex stuff, which most rookies can't do that part of it either. And he just was ruthless and showed no mercy, and that was fun. So that's a positive tonight, that they played amazing defense.
Yeah, definitely. I like the ethos behind the blitzing of make the young rookie quarterback make a quick decision, again, in the rain, and betting that he won't make a good decision when he makes a quick decision. Definitely paid off. The D-line is playing really stout, really strong. There were some runs where they got creased. It was more like bubble issues and the second level not aligning or adjusting to it. Well, I thought Tyrese Knight had some kind of iffy plays.
Yeah, he did.
Well, so when they're in too high and they're facing a trips formation, the will is going to be to the B gap bubble.
Correct.
And especially when they're in over front, and when they're in too high, he's not going to be able to align to that B gap bubble, even though he's responsible for it. And motion just moves him just a tick late. He's always just a tick late with things. Ironically, he processes faster when there's pullers involved. I find that funny.
It's like go.
It's like, it's like, oh, that means I need to go. It locks him into the scheme. And some guys are slower off of pullers, but when it's one back and either duo or just zone with no insert or anything, no motion, he can be a tick late, and I don't really get it. Another guy is Rayshawn Jenkins. He can get reached on the front side of plays sometimes from climbing linemen. Some of these guys are just a tick late, but Ernest and Devin never are.
Yes, so one guy who is not a tick late is Devin Witherspoon. He had 3 tackles for loss today and a sack and 6 total tackles. Griff,
he had a great game.
What a performance from the nickel. He really he wouldn't be blocked. He dominated his blockers. He kind of showed up some pretty patchy receiver blocking, I'd say, and played so physical and just a baller.
Yeah, Matty, how about Reek Woolen too?
Yeah, and I mean, fairly quiet game because of the Seahawks' pressure, but ultimately in the big moment where I think some fans perhaps fairly have had questions over Woolen in big moments of late. That's fair, isn't it? But today, back-to-back cover 0 plays where they try him on the fade, get into Duns. He's really dominated the red line. It's a timing route. He's disrupted the timing of it as well, and the ball falls incomplete. And then to ice the game, he gets the pick on a wobbly ball where he goes up and high points the football and intercepts it. I think over one of the Bears receivers. Anyway, a good receiver. So that was something he'd been working on in the offseason, and good for him, and good for him running out of bounds eventually and not fumbling the ball and having a disaster play. Great for him. Leonard Williams again, really excellent play. 4 quarterback hits, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. That's going to help his all-pro considerations.
He's been good at football forever, and he's having a career year.
That's awesome for him. That's so happy. Great. Because there's there's not so many, obviously, because otherwise he wouldn't be noteworthy. But I feel like, particularly on the D-line, you are reliant on, obviously every position needs a bit of luck, but on the D-line, you can go unsung for a bit or not underrated, under-talked about if you're not on a good defense or you're not afforded certain opportunities. And He's playing great ball. Should also say Jaron Reed was given the game ball, and his leadership and his connection to the past Seahawks defense is something that's been very important to this unit, and that's cool to see. I thought Uchenna Nwosu had a really solid game. I know he hobbled off a bit, but he seems okay in his press conference, and he looked really good. Had a great coverage play where they fire zoned. So he was the dropping edge, and they brought three from the side, including I think Julian Love from the weak side. But he was dropping into like the strong side coverage, the trip side in a curl cover two. And what was awesome is he initially took away like the slot hitching up down the hash route, which that's what you need to do. But then as Caleb did what he does, where he liked rolling left, and was trying to throw like a deep corner route, Witherspoon in the curl, in the cloud, like the flats, he sailed underneath the corner, but then the bait route underneath was like a hitch return, and Nwosu, no longer threatened by the route that had been developed into a corner, he expanded out with Caleb rolling and found the hitch return route. That forced Caleb to hold the football, and I believe he was sacked on that play. Griff, perhaps though Seattle's defensive MVP was a certain Jake Curhan.
Jake, I was look, my friends in the Chicago mob, they talked to him for me.
Oh no!
Yeah,
after the game.
No, before the game.
Okay.
It was arranged. It was arranged.
Oh dear.
I told him I loved him. I loved him like a brother.
That's nice. We remember his amazing backside of mid zone washing down of four eyes against the Chicago Bears. He single handedly got Rashad Penny
He was so good as a run blocker for 6 weeks in 2021. And then
it's so good that we were like, hey, the pass pro's bad, but we could have something here. Let's just get him good at pass pro, and you've got a great right tackle for run blocking.
The run blocking is so good. Like, I'm not going to complain because every ram popped. But
is this Breno Giacomini?
Yeah, like what's going on? But then of course that never recaptured.
No, and so today the big swing really was on a 3rd and 10 at Seattle 17. Caleb Williams was flushed, I think by design, to his left. He's pretty good rolling right, isn't he? But he flushed to his left by design, and Boye Mafe on the game looped around to contain it. But Caleb is such a special athlete. He got out there, and he absolutely zipped across his body the kind of highlight play which makes him hard to quit to Roma Duns for a 17-yard touchdown. But it was nullified by Jake Curhan's holding penalty. And, of course, if the Chicago Bears had scored that touchdown, they would have won this game 7-6 if they'd made the extra point, if buts and maybes. But they didn't because of Curhan's hold and made it 3rd and 20. Caleb tried another screen. The Seahawks forced the field goal. Then I suppose it didn't really make a difference because somehow Caleb Williams did actually complete the pass, but on 4th and inches, Curhan false started. That was a harsh false start. Like, he barely moved. He's like, eh. I felt a bit sorry for him in that moment. But anyway.
Yeah.
We should also say, like, the Bears' time management in this game, and the fact that they and the timeout management as well, just burning through timeouts, like they had 1 million of them. What on earth were they doing? The fact they even considered like punting on 4th and 5 in that situation.
I feel bad for Thomas Brown. He's not.
Yeah, he's just like so not like he's trying to call plays. He's trying to manage a quarterback. He's trying to manage a locker room. Like he is so above his head right now.
I know. He's never called plays until the middle of the season, and then they promoted him to head coach as well.
So you are the guy. Now, you do wonder when a guy gets made head coach, is there some politicking there? Or was it just like, nope, you're the guy now? It's like, oh, okay, thanks. What if I say no? It's like, oh, you'd lose your job. It's like, oh, right, okay, thanks.
Right. Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Anything else on this actual game, if you can call it that?
I don't think so, man. I can't.
Well, the subject of Thomas
You know what?
Brown.
No, there's one thing.
Okay.
Julian Love made some good plays on the zone read keeps, flattening the ball out to the sideline.
Yeah, inside out pursuit.
And Kobe Bryant flying down into the alley. He took called the banana path inside out. I mean, he's
Yep.
really, honestly, Kobe might be a guy. He might be the starter next year. He might have earned
I
that.
like him.
Yeah.
He's tenacious. And Julian Love had a big hit on punt coverage where it looked like it was going to be a big return. His special teams plays not
Right.
overlooked, but you know, his special teams, so you don't talk about it as much. And he's been playing pretty good on specials as well.
Yep.
So on the subject of Thomas Brown, on Christmas Day, Adam Schefter reported that Pete Carroll is interested in the Chicago Bears job. We obviously are fans of Pete Carroll. Ben asked in the chat, if Pete goes to the Bears, who does he bring with him and what's his record? I think other people were talking about it in the chat as well. It was mentioned multiple times on the broadcast. I hadn't really connected the dots that like Seahawks Bears was today, and so the reason for the report coming out wasn't just the Christmas present to us, but it was actually because it was the day before a very significant national game.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be on the broadcast. And even Seahawks players in their post-game presses were asked about Pete potentially returning as Chicago head coach. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Maybe you could talk on that.
I would love for Pete to coach again. I always thought he was going to come back. Matty, I know you were skeptical. I'm happy that I think he could fix Caleb. I want him to go to a team with a quarterback prospect at minimum, so he can get off the ground a little bit. I think Pete is perfect for Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see who Pete puts on his staff. That will be something I'll be watching for really heavily, because I feel like that will serve as commentary for
a lot of narratives and
a lot of narratives and what direction he wants to take the defense. Yeah, it would be interesting to see what goes on there.
Right, and like the discussion in Seattle was always, who does he turn to? Like he's kind of exhausted his tree, and
Right.
And
Does he
reunite? And hire didn't go very well. What?
Right. Does he reunite with Chris Richard? That's what I want to know.
Oh dear. Then today on the broadcast before the game, Albert Breer of MMQB,
yeah,
and Amazon NFL On Prime Insider said he was told that the Bears are interested in sitting down and having a conversation with Carroll about their opening. So there's mutual interest, it seems. I'd love to see it. I'd be following with interest. I think if no one can get something out of Caleb, like if anyone's going to do it, it would be Pete. Like he knows how to help a young quarterback.
Pete and Stenavich from Green Bay would be the perfect marriage.
What I don't get though, Griff, is like how does it work with Ryan Poles? Like, you know, that whole fit, because he's like the super king there, isn't he?
I think so.
Anyway,
yeah, that will be. I would be very curious to know like how the dynamics work. Like what authority does Pete have in writing? You know. Anyway.
Anyhow, back to the Seahawks. Henry, thank you for the donation, mate. Next defensive coordinator, Mike Kafka or Brian Schottenheimer?
I mean, I know that question was half in jest. I'd love to see Shoddy working with Gino. There's no chance Vulcan brings back someone that they fired. I just don't think they'd ever do that on principle. Regardless of why the guy might have been fired, you know. I don't know how they view Kafka now. And also, I don't know how they view Kafka in light of him being a Schneider guy.
And like, you know, you saying how they view him now, like the Giants season, I know they've had a lot of issues and the quarterback play's been suspect, but holy moly, I think his stock's down, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If they get reactionary and it becomes like we want a run game, a consistent run game, or it's like we want play action. I don't even know how ownership views that. I don't even know if Mike views it as a play action problem, if he views it more as a run problem or like an under center issue, whatever, or just, balance, kind of broad sense. I would think that they would go in the Stenovich or Frank Smith route over Kafka. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, Shotty did
And then
nothing wrong.
the other thing I wonder is if they cut off the head of the snake, how many of the underlings do they keep? Do they keep Jake
This
Peets?
is the big question. Like, it was an entirely new offensive staff, right?
Yeah.
Like,
If
how do
you
they decide who to keep? And like, are you really willing to go through all the upheaval again?
Right.
And do any of them have connections with the incumbent?
Right, exactly. In Pete's case, Jake Peets, you would not know he's the passing game coordinator, really. Like not even
from
a
like
little
the concepts they run.
Well, conceptually, in the sense that the play action game isn't McVay.
Right. Well,
and then
one play they ran like dagger, like one play. It was like,
right. Well, and like there's going to be overlap for any scheme, right?
like choice and
but even
they
then,
barely
like
run.
the empty stuff is not McVay at all.
The quads catch Noah Fant had was kind of how they shifted from under center trips bunch into pure quads, and the Bears play cover 3, but the strong hook just dropped out, and so Fant, who'd like kind of chip released, was wide ass open on third down for big yardage. Yeah. That was cool, and that kind of felt Rams like.
Right. I mean, look, they always do something cool every game, right?
Yeah, and that's it, right? There's always something cool. There's always like shoots of, I don't know if you can call it progress, but like, they've kind of learned some things, and then it's like, what now though? Like, what is it? And it's 6 points, and it's stalling, and it feels disjointed, and there's a lot of the kind of deja vu element to it.
For sure. So if you bring in Stenovich, then all of a sudden Pete's might be of more value to you.
Why do you like Stenovich?
Well, just in the sense that I like the Packers offense. From what we've been told, Stenovich has actually had quite a bit of influence on the offense as well, especially with the run game, and coaches all the protections tied into it in his sleep. In the dropback game, Green Bay doesn't really have a lot going on. Everything is dagger. So they'll have dagger as the front side read, but they'll even attach dagger to the back side of split even. So I think that's a cool, instead of just turning everything into Y cross, they turn everything into dagger.
And you prefer dagger to Y cross in the NFL?
In the NFL, I would agree with. I mean, Y cross is a great complement play to have, right? But and they also run Y cross. Their seven man protection play action game is great. Their boot play action game is great. They hit drift or strike, just a play action dig. So they have the full complement there.
And what you could say about,
I think also really quick, I think Stenovich would feel inclined to run more concepts out of gun with Geno than he will with Love too. Even.
And what you can say about like that LaFleur thing, and you'd hope Stenovich too, but he has put his own spin very much on that offense. Like, it's not like a carbon copy. It's not a almost uninspired replica. There's like a distinct evolution or tweak to it with his own flavor, which is positive and effective, right? So, okay, interesting. Much to ponder. We'll be able to talk about it in the off season, I guess.
Really quick though, Jason asks, "What is dagger?" So dagger is a type of play concept, pass play, where there's lots of variations to it, but what makes any dagger play dagger is you have a seam route. And then from the same side of the field, you have a receiver aligned to the outside of the seam route running a dig route underneath it. So you have two receivers, the slot runs a seam, the outside receiver runs a dig. Or so you have a trips formation. Say the number 3, the third innermost receiver runs a seam route. Either of the 1 or the number 2 could run a dig. If the number 1 runs a dig, it'd be called outside dagger. If the number 2 runs a dig, it'd be called inside dagger. You can do all sorts of different things with it, but it's great because the seam either holds a safety or runs off a linebacker, and then the dig route runs underneath them into the open void. Sean McVay got the Seahawks really bad with it in 2018 and most of 2019. Then the Seahawks corrected late 2019, 2020, 2021, and like no one could hit a dig route on them. Yeah. Oh, okay. Matty's showing you. Boom, dagger. Yeah. And then what makes it really effective is they get like from a 3 receiver side, they'll run a little hitch underneath the dig route as well. So it kind of doubles as like a wrap concept too. And it makes the strong hook player come down. So what happens is the weak hook player gets run off by the seam. The strong hook player gets pinned down by the curl, and the dig route wraps right over top of the strong hook. And it just kills them. So
yeah. There you go. That's dagger. Don't think the Seahawks have run that once this year. Not that that's necessarily an issue, but it's quite effective. Like, all of the best offenses spam that. Okay. I don't know what to make of this, but thanks for the donation. Oh, I do know what to make of it. Cool. Good for them. Means it'll be noisy. Wait. The Bill Stadium's a dome? The new Bill Stadium? That's upsetting if that's true. No. No, Tottenham's not a dome. I'm wrong. But you will not have the same weather. But the acoustics in there are very intelligent. Probably an upgrade slightly on what Lehman Field managed to do.
Right. Are we...
That's a question from Dan. Wouldn't JSN be great to run dagger?
Absolutely.
Like, who runs the 10, 15 yard in?
Yeah.
And how I think of it as well is, this is like so probably wrong, but I just think dagger is called dagger because it's a dig and a go, but it's not.
Dig and go. Yeah, I don't know why they call it
My
dagger.
word association wants to think that.
I don't know why
but obviously it's more of a seam. Anyway.
Okay.
How do they fix the play calls on offense? It's too late.
It's too late.
All of what we're seeing is just like trying to play catch up, and then what I interpret of behind the scenes, there's, oh, we must do this. We need to do more of this. Okay, but what about this? Yeah, okay, we still have this, but I know you like doing that, but maybe do more of this. And it's like, oh, I'll try to do more of this. Oh God, I can't do this. And oh, I've got this idea, and I can't do this though. And then this game, it was quite heavy-handed into like the run, and then just like pure, like without even ideas. Like there was a lot more running than the past stuff. So is it choice sequencing or design? It's everything.
It's kind of everything.
Which is why the OC comes under the spotlight.
Yeah, yeah. It starts with broad spectrum stuff. Not it's more so the macro, not the micro per se.
Right.
Anyway.
Oh bother.
No bother. Matty, I think it's time for some affirmations until your eye starts twitching and you end the podcast. Are you ready?
No.
Are you ready? Good.
No, not yet. Chat, hope you had a good Christmas. Please follow Griff at CMikeSpinMove on the apps. Follow me at Matty F. Brown. Follow the pod at Seattle Overload to know when we're next going live. Like the damn video. It really does help us. We only have 20 likes. There's 111 of you in here right now. That's super magnificent. But what would be better is if you like the video and subscribe to the channel and share the podcast with a friend. Thank you for the donation. You are most welcome. Griffin.
And Matty, now it's time for some Matty F. Brown Show affirmations, affirming your inner soul. I am peaceful and whole. I am proof enough of who I am and what I deserve. I am responsible for myself, and I start there. I am safe and surrounded by love and support. I am still learning, so it's okay to make mistakes. I am understood and my perspective is important. I am valued and helpful. I am well rested and excited for the day. Again, I'm going to keep going forever until you end the podcast. I am worthy of investing in myself